Meanwhile, in Ukraine, there's been a lot of action. Russia has fired drones, Ukraine has fired back. Both Zelensky and Putin made visits to the front lines. Germany has delivered Patriot missile defense systems to Kiev. It's also trying to get Switzerland to forsake its much-wanted neutrality. And South Korea has become the latest Western ally to consider arming Ukraine. I know that's a lot to process, so we'll break it down, starting with the drone war. In the early hours of the day, an attack began. The target was the Ukrainian port city of Odessa. Russia pounded it with drones. Reports say they used the Iranian-made Shahed 136 drones. Ukraine claims to have shot down most of the drones. No casualties were reported. And this is a relatively common affair. Russia using drones against Ukraine. It happens all the time. Here's what is not. Ukraine carrying out drone attacks in Russia. Reports say that happened yesterday. And Ukraine used an American Switchblade drone. This is the first time Switchblades are being used in Russian territory. Now, what are Switchblades? They're a type of kamikaze or suicide drones developed by the US. They have the same function as the Iranian Shahed drone. Find a target and crash into it, exploding on impact. That's what they do. The US has supplied Switchblades to Ukraine. Reports say some 700 of them. They've sent another type of suicide drone too. It's called the Phoenix Ghost Kamikaze drone. America has sent about 1,800 of these drones. So clearly, Ukraine has an American suicide drone arsenal now, and it has started using it to launch attacks on Russian soil. Yesterday's attack took place in Russia's Belgorod region, 500 meters inside its airspace. No damage or casualties were reported, but it marks another escalation in the war. Meanwhile, the leaders of the warring states were both on the front lines. Putin was reportedly in the Russian-occupied regions of Kherson and Luhansk. The Kremlin says he went on Monday. He visited Russian military headquarters in both the regions.
It's important to me to hear your opinion about how the situation develops. Listen to you, exchange information.
The day after Putin's visit, violence erupted in the region. There was artillery fire. At least one person was killed and 9 injured.
First a whistle, then a loud explosion. It was deafening, very strong. I turned around, saw that everything was flying apart. Everyone started to run away. This was only the first flight. Then probably there were 2 more bangs.
During all of this, Zelensky was also visiting the front lines. He was in the eastern city of Avdiivka yesterday, and he too was seen conferring with his troops.
It is a pleasure for me to see you. Shake your strong hands and know that you hold the future of Ukraine in your hands. I am proud to have this meeting. I am proud that there are such strong people in Ukraine. Things happen thanks to you. Take care. Our future depends on you. Thanks again.
Both videos of the leaders were released by their respective governments. They both look like well-staged PR exercises. If this war has taught us anything, it's this. Optics matter. Leaders need to be seen rallying their soldiers. It needs to be captured on video and publicized well, apparently. Another thing we've come to learn from the war is that constantly badgering allies for weapons works. Zelensky has been quite vocal about Ukraine's need for more and more arms, and his Western allies always seem to come through.
It is very important to understand this. Every time we hear that the promised supply of weapons is delayed, every time there are doubts about the type of weapons for Ukraine, about the range or other quality characteristics, it means every time Ukrainian soldiers are giving their lives so that we have this time, the time that is spent to convince, so that the supply of the necessary weapons takes place after all.
Germany says it has delivered a US-made Patriot air defense system to Ukraine. And Germany is not done yet. It is pressuring others to supply arms as well, like the famously neutral country of Switzerland. The Swiss president was in Berlin yesterday and he faced pressure from German Chancellor Olaf Scholz.
We have acknowledged the decisions taken so far and are following the lively debate in Switzerland closely and hope that something happens there. We have adopted the Hague Agreement, that we have installed our laws. And when the situation changes so much, you cannot ask us to break our own laws.
We'll see how long Switzerland sticks to its neutrality. South Korea seems to have folded. President Yoon Suk Yeol has signaled a shift in stance. South Korea will give Ukraine more than humanitarian and economic aid. Will it supply weapons? President Yoon said it could happen, but only if Ukraine comes under a large-scale civilian attack. What does that even mean? What counts as large-scale? Because civilians have been dying since the war began. It sounds like a convenient way for South Korea to choose when to give weapons. And with this, the Ukraine war shows no signs of concluding.
We are meeting here in furtherance of the meeting we had with the stakeholders in Nyeri a week ago to bring our 5 county assemblies within the region to ask for their support, because the concern that the president and all of us have is the same concern these leaders have. And we are really discussing with them on how we can make uniform laws across the 5 counties to come up with very stringent rules and regulations to regulate the sale of alcohol, the issues of drugs, and indeed to come up with very stringent penalties to act as a deterrent to this sector. We are concerned as the leaders from this region and for the whole country, really, that if we don't intervene, we can lose an entire generation. The situation in central Kenya and the rest of the country is worrisome. And we want to explain that why we have started here is because from the statistics from NACADA, this area is worse hit at 14%. Once we succeed here, and we must succeed, we'll use the interventions here as a model for the rest of the country.